It started as an ordinary weekend trip, the kind of escape families take to unplug from the noise of everyday life. We packed the car before sunrise, my wife excited for the quiet, my son thrilled about the promise of forests and streams. The national park was remote, vast, and beautiful in a way that feels untouched by time. The locals warned us not to wander too far off the trails, but like many parents, I thought those warnings were exaggerated. That assumption nearly cost me my child. On the second day, my son wanted to explore a narrow path that branched away from the main trail. I hesitated, but it looked harmless enough. Trees towered above us, their leaves blocking out the sun, and the air felt cooler, heavier. At some point, I stopped to take a photo. It was only a moment, seconds at most. When I looked up, my son was gone. No footsteps, no sound, no answer to my frantic calls. Just silence. Panicked is something strange to the mind. Time stretches and compresses at once. I ran through the woods shouting his name until my throat burned. My wife's voice joined mine, breaking with fear. We alerted park rangers, and soon a search team formed. They were calm, professional, but I could see concern in their eyes. Night was approaching, and temperatures would drop fast. Predators lived in these woods. Sedded steep ravines and fast-moving water. As darkness fell, the forest changed. Every sound felt closer, louder. Twigs snapping, distant howls, the rush of wind through branches. I couldn't stop imagining the worst. Guilt crushed me with every breath. I should never have let him out of my sight. I should have listened to the warnings. Hours passed with no sign of him. Then something happened that no official report would ever include. Deep in the forest, far from the search teams, my son was not alone. He later told us that after realizing he was lost, he tried to follow what he thought was our path. He slipped down a slope and hurt his ankle. He cried until his voice gave out. That's when he heard heavy footsteps, slow and deliberate, not like a bear, not like a person. From the shadows emerged a massive figure, taller than any man he had ever seen, covered in dark, matted hair. My son said he was frozen with terror. He couldn't scream. He couldn't run. The creature didn't roar or growl. It crouched down, its movements careful, almost gentle. Its eyes, according to my son, were not angry. They were alert, focused, and strangely calm. The creature picked him up as if he weighed nothing. My son expected pain, expected to be hurt. Instead, he felt steady arms and warmth, like being carried by a parent. The forest passed beneath them as they moved swiftly but quietly. My son remembers drifting in and out of consciousness, the rhythmic motion almost soothing despite the fear. Meanwhile, the search teams were preparing to suspend operations for the night. Weather conditions were worsening, and visibility was dropping. That's when one of the rangers spotted movement near the tree line. At first, they thought it was a bear standing upright. Then they realized it was walking on two legs, carrying something small in its arms. What happened next is documented only in whispers. The creature stopped at the edge of the clearing. It gently set my son down on the ground, adjusted his position, and stepped back into the shadows. By the time flashlights swung toward the trees, it was gone. No sound, no trace. My son was found cold, injured, but alive. Doctors said his ankle would heal. Dehydration and shock were the biggest concerns, but he survived the night because someone, or something, kept him safe. When he woke up in the hospital, the first thing he asked was if the big hairy man was okay. Officials dismissed his account as a trauma-induced hallucination, stress, fear, and imagination, they said. But several rangers refused to meet my eyes when I thanked them. One quietly told me that this wasn't the first time something like this had happened. Stories of lost children found in impossible places. Injuries that should have been fatal but weren't. Reports never officially filed. I don't claim to understand what Bigfoot is or where it comes from. I only know what my son experienced and what I saw in his eyes when he told me. There was no confusion, no exaggeration. Just memory. Clear, vivid, and unshaken by time. Since that day, I've listened to countless stories from parents, hikers, and hunters who share eerily similar experiences. A presence in the woods. A guardian in the dark. Not a monster, not a myth, but something older, watching from the edges of our world. Maybe Bigfoot isn't the terror we've been taught to fear. Maybe, sometimes, it's the reason some of us make it home. I don't expect everyone to believe this story. I didn't believe stories like this either, once. But every time I look at my son, laughing, growing, alive, I know one thing for certain. Whatever carried him out of those woods saved his life. And the truth will stay with me forever.